Right now, new laws. We preview what's taking effect in Texas in 2024. One-on-one, Dallas County's new elections administrator, Hyder Garcia, talks to us about his goals for the department and why he left Tarrant County earlier this year. One-on-one, we speak with the Texas Tribune's primary political correspondent, Patrick Svitek, about the long year at the Texas Legislature and what to expect in 2024. I'm Jack Fink. Get your fix for Texas politics. Eye on Politics on CBS News Texas starts right now. Hello and welcome to our final show for 2023. We begin with a look at some of the new laws that will be taking effect in Texas January 1st. All public colleges and universities will no longer be allowed to have diversity, equity, and inclusion DEI offices. That means they have to be disbanded altogether and employees will have to be reassigned, and there can't be any contractors performing those duties instead. The schools are prohibited from requiring DEI training and ideological oaths. Administrators are also required to testify before state legislative committees they are complying with the law. Another new law will crack down on the marketing of e-cigarettes to minors. It will be a Class B misdemeanor for businesses or individuals who market, advertise, or sell e-cigarette products to children by using cartoon-like characters, celebrities, and images of candy or juice. Property owners associations will be required to adopt a formal and transparent policy on how they levy fines and other violations against owners. The associations will have to send each property owner a copy of the policy and post it on its association website. And a new law will provide more opportunities for identifying troubled and at-risk children. When children are accused of Class C misdemeanors, the state will not allow local governments to adopt a youth diversion plan that includes a variety of programs. Under existing law, municipal courts and judges are allowed to order diversion programs only after the child has been convicted or deferred. Now they will be able to offer these programs at the beginning of the case, and this will make it consistent with the juvenile justice court system. Now to urgent meetings between the U.S. and Mexico in an effort to slow the illegal border crossings at our southern border. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken and Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas met with Mexico's president. The White House National Security Council issued a statement following it, saying that the meeting was productive and that Mexico's president has taken, quote, significant new enforcement actions, but it didn't provide any specifics. Another meeting is planned for next month. U.S. Customs and Border Protection statistics show that during the first 2 months of this fiscal year, which are October and November, nearly 500,000 people were either apprehended or expelled along the southern border. During the last fiscal year, between October 2022 through this past September, there were nearly 2.5 million migrants apprehended or expelled along the southern border, surpassing the record amount the year before. The race for the White House kicks into high gear in 2024, and soon after the new year begins, the presidential primaries begin, particularly for the Republicans. Take a look. On Monday, January 15th, Republicans will hold caucuses in Iowa. 8 days later, January 23rd, Republicans will be holding their primary in New Hampshire. Democrats will have their first primary in South Carolina on Saturday, February 3rd. On Tuesday, February 6th, Republicans and Democrats in Nevada will hold their presidential contests. And then Saturday, February 24th, the Republicans will be holding their primary in South Carolina. Michigan's primary is Tuesday, February 27th. And then Texas and 13 other states are part of Super Tuesday, March 5th. Coming up, we go one-on-one with Texas Tribune primary political correspondent Patrick Svitek about the year in Texas politics. And right after the break, my interview with new Dallas County Elections Administrator Hyder Garcia. Eye on Politics on CBS News Texas. We'll be right back. Just last week, Dallas County Judge Clay Jenkins swore in a new elections administrator. Hyder Garcia served in this same position in Tarrant County before announcing his resignation earlier this year. I spoke one-on-one with him about why he left his old job and what he hopes to accomplish in his new one.
I'm very excited to see what we can do here in Dallas. Right next door, but very different politically, socially, it's a new reality. So like one thing I've been saying repeatedly is just humbled, making sure that I bring myself into this new community and understand it, right, and serve it properly in the way they expect to be served. So just a lot of ideas. Short term, obviously, make sure we have a successful primary in March. There's going to be a lot of attention on that. We're trying to just promote voting, make sure we engage with people, serve them properly, cover some of these corners of misinformation and pockets of speculation that are out there, right? And just try to navigate a smooth primary. And then long term, just engage in voter registration and participation and outreach to make sure that people have information on how to register, how to participate, overcome any obstacles they have, right? Use all the methods and tools available so they can make their voice heard.
And if your name sounds familiar to a lot of folks, it's because you served as Tarrant County's elections administrator until earlier this year for about 5.5 years. And so I think a lot of people want to know, what happened? Why did you leave? Was this a change in direction by the Tarrant County judge? Was there a personality conflict? What can you tell us?
Well, I can tell you that I just felt that it was not going to work. I sat down with the new duly elected county official, a county judge, and we had a conversation. And I just came to the conclusion that I'm not the person that he wanted there. And so I said, I'll just leave. That's it. There's not really much more to make of it. Tarrant County is a great place. They found a great guy to run it. I'm cheering for him. He's a great guy. And I found my own way. God has a plan. I made the choice I felt was best. And that's all there is to it, Jack, really.
And so I'm wondering, I know that earlier this month, Dallas County commissioners expressed concerns and frustrations about the most recent election we had last month and said that there were constituents who had waited about 2 hours to vote and that there were some voting machines that were broken. What are you doing to make sure those are addressed and other issues that we may not know about are addressed and corrected by the March 5th primary?
Well, the first step is always to look at the actual data, Jack, and determine what causes the problems, what are the real problems that we're facing, and then going and implementing plans that will address those reasons for it, right? So if we have plenty of equipment, getting more equipment and having more poll workers is always a good thing. Not necessarily going for cost savings, but for sometimes abundance of resources, right? And that's an honest conversation to have with the electeds and the leadership here in Dallas County is let's not cut corners, right, on some expenses. And the other one is just understanding if people are preferring certain sites, can we inform them better? For example, people have a lot of habits, they like to go to a specific place and there's only so much equipment you can fit in the room. So if more people than what you can process show up, there's going to be a line. But we're going to really push hard in outreach efforts to tell people there are alternatives. That is why Dallas County is a vote centers county. So you can choose where to go, where it's more convenient, where the lines are shorter, closer to work, closer to your families, your relatives, residents, anything like that, right? So it's a combination of having availability of resources and information to the public so they can find alternatives.
Are there enough resources in the county? Or are there enough people needed to operate a smooth and efficient election?
Yes, we haven't had a shortage of poll workers in Dallas County. Looking at the records and what my staff has been telling me, that has not been an issue.
And I'm wondering, and I know you just started there, but you've been meeting with various employees at Dallas County Elections Department for a while now. And I'm wondering, what differences are there in how Dallas County's Elections Department is being run now as you come in compared to how you left the Tarrant County Elections Department?
I think the core of it is always the professionalism of election workers, right? And whether it's Dallas, Tarrant, any other county in Texas or across the nation, the core belief of every elections worker is the same: to run safe, accurate elections with integrity, right? That to serve the voters, to give them an honest chance of casting their ballot. The difference is in the methods and the tools that we use, right? So some counties are more traditional or don't have the funding that maybe Dallas County has, and so they don't have as many technological gadgets or tools, and the work is probably more manual, paper-based. But the spirit of it is always the same wherever you go, Jack. I don't think there's that much of a difference, to be honest, in the process between Tarrant and Dallas. We all vote with 100% paper ballot. We both use vote centers. We both, strive to make sure that our voters can go to any location and make their ballot, cast their ballot in an honest way. So deep down inside, the process is the same. The procedures and the tools may be a little different, but it's the same spirit.
Coming up on Eye on Politics, my one-on-one with Texas Tribune primary political correspondent Patrick Svitek about the year in Texas politics. We'll be right back.
If 2023 in the Lone Star State was a whirlwind, the past year for in-state politics was a roller coaster worthy of the name. There was Ken Paxton's impeachment trial, multiple border security measures challenged in court. More than one abortion challenge made it to the Texas Supreme Court. Abbott's year-long losing battle for school choice vouchers. 3 laws that critics called discriminatory against the LGBT community were passed. Paxton sued the federal government 20 times. Private employers were barred from requiring COVID vaccinations, and the Dallas mayor suddenly switched political parties just a few months after being reelected. More than 1,000 laws went into effect in 2023, but a few are waiting in the wings for 2024, like banning diversity, equity, and inclusion measures in higher education, changes to the state's judicial branch, and a new vanity license plate honoring 100 years of the song Texas, Our Texas.
Well, this proved to be quite the eventful year at the Texas Capitol. 4 special sessions, the impeachment of Attorney General Ken Paxton, and then his trial. I spoke with the Texas Tribune's primary political correspondent, Patrick Svitek, about all of this and what to expect in Texas politics in 2024.
Look, I've been covering Texas politics for close to a decade now. It's hard to believe. I first got to Texas in 2014, and this is the worst I've seen tensions among Republican leaders in the state, and the worst I've seen those tensions really spill over into legislative process and prevent legislative progress on priority issues that even Republicans generally agree on, like property tax relief, for example. That's not even a Republican priority in Texas. It's a bipartisan priority. Democrats largely have supported those measures as well. We've always had this fundamental tension between the lieutenant governor, who's elected statewide, and the House Speaker, who's elected by the House membership. They have, different voters per se that they're responsive to, and so that sometimes informs how they go about negotiating issues, which issues they choose to champion and prioritize. So there's always that fundamental tension, I think, between those two roles in Texas government. But having a huge personality like Patrick in that role, and at really the apex of his power as the Senate leader, with combined with a relatively new speaker, I think really took that tension to a new level. And I do think Dade Phelan, to give him credit, has been willing to push back on Patrick than more fiercely than, for example, Joe Strauss was when Patrick was at war with him on various issues. But what we've seen is this increase in Republican Party, internal warfare that honestly, in some cases, isn't even about conservative policy. It's about which personalities, which figures within the party are you standing with or against. And I think nothing crystallized that better than the impeachment of Ken Paxton. The impeachment of Ken Paxton had, nothing directly to do with conservative ideology or conservative policy. It really became a tribal issue. Either you're standing with Paxton or you're not. And I expect that dynamic to continue in these House primaries, these state House primaries where Paxton's involved now. You have Paxton endorsing primary challengers left and right. I think he's endorsed, 3 dozen candidates in state House primaries, and most of those primary challengers, some of those open seat candidates. So you're going to have a primary season in the coming weeks and months where Paxton's impeachment is a big dividing line. And, it may not be top of mind for Republican primary voters, but it's going to provide a lot of definition and draw battle lines for how political observers think about these races and the most engaged people think about these races.
And if you look at the races that I think are really going to be the most interesting are in Collin County, because here you had 5 Republican House members all vote to impeach the Attorney General, and he is now backing the challengers of all of those incumbents: Frazier, Leach, Shaheen, Noble, Holland, and even some in nearby Denton County next door, with Mitch Little, one of the attorneys who represented him during the impeachment trial, is running against Kronda Timish. So I think that's going to be a very fascinating. Those races are going to be fascinating, especially when you consider that Governor Abbott has endorsed most of them. I think all of them except Justin Holland, because they voted to support his school choice plan, taxpayer-financed education savings accounts.
Yeah, I mean, you could tell that Paxton took it especially personally when every Republican in the Texas House from Collin County voted for impeachment. And I think, Collin County is not just his backyard, but it has been the backdrop of his entire political rise.
And when you look at how many people actually vote in the primary compared to the general, it's very small, really. I mean, some of these races, you're not talking about a lot of votes here.
Absolutely. I mean, I'll just say it right now, we're going to have, I assume, primaries and runoffs that are decided by, less than 100 votes in some of these districts, as we have had in the past in these state house primaries. This is not new in Texas, but these Republican primaries have pretty low turnout, and they draw the most engaged members of the party, which I guess for Paxton is a plus in that, if you're a highly engaged Republican, you probably know about the ins and outs of his impeachment.
I want to go back to talk a little bit about, school choice and the fact that this failed yet again in the House. And a lot of people really weren't surprised by this. And now Governor Abbott is really, pushing and endorsing the candidates. In some cases, he's endorsing challengers to the people who voted against this. Do you think that's going to make any difference?
Look, I think there's a few different points to make on that. I do think having the governor endorse against you is not something to take lightly. The governor won re-election, both in his primary last year and in his general election last year by pretty decisive margins. His approval rating remains generally positive. He is well liked by Republicans. And so you'd much rather have him on your side than not on your side in a primary. That being said, the polling shows that this school choice issue is just currently not a high priority for Republican primary voters. And so I think if he's going to be going into these races and only campaigning on a single issue, he may have trouble breaking through to a Republican primary voter to get them to change their mind and not support their local House Republicans.
And we've been talking about, the big races in 2024, and obviously this is a presidential year coming up. And there was a new poll out by UT, Texas Politics Project, about the GOP presidential primary, showing that Trump still has a very commanding lead here in the state of Texas. I think it was like 65%. And Florida Governor Ron DeSantis was at 12. And I think Nikki Haley, the former South Carolina governor and Trump's former ambassador to the United Nations, at 9%.
It has been just so striking to see how we started this year, where Texas Republicans, had this huge crush on Ron DeSantis. If you go back to January, everything that Governor Abbott was doing was being compared to what DeSantis was doing in Florida. You had, Abbott's critics constantly pitting him against DeSantis. It just seems like all Texas Republicans were so excited about Ron DeSantis and so open to supporting him. And now we're ending the year with, Trump farther ahead than ever in Texas primary polling, and very few Texas Republicans, openly openly gushing or praising Ron DeSantis. I mean, his endorsements in Texas, have pretty much stayed static ever since, 6-7 months ago. He still has one endorsement in the Texas Republican congressional delegation, Chip Roy from Austin.
Yep.
He hasn't been able to pick up any other ones, and he has certainly not made any progress with picking up support from the statewide officials. Abbott, who is pretty cautious with his own national endorsements, went ahead and endorsed Trump in recent weeks. And so you really see this interesting political arc in Texas that, began with so much hope for Ron DeSantis in Texas, just in terms of Texas Republicans being open to supporting him. And we're ending the year now with Trump pretty much having locked up the Texas Republican primary electorate.
And then we have the U.S. Senate race, the Democratic primary, where you've got Congressman Colin Allred from North Texas going up against Roland Gutierrez, the state senator, who really made a name for himself this year on really trying to push back and pass gun legislation, which obviously was unsuccessful. And those two were the top two in a 4-person race. And so, and again, this poll by UT and the Texas Politics Project shows just how difficult it is when you are not a statewide official to run statewide. Allred leading with about 28%. A lot of people just don't know who he is, and they haven't thought about the race just yet.
Absolutely. I mean, ask Beto O'Rourke in 2017 how hard it is to start as a congressperson from one corner of the state and build up enough statewide name ID to take on a U.S. senator in Texas. Obviously, Beto O'Rourke had to travel the state and campaign vigorously everywhere for a year and a half to get to the point of being close to as well known as Ted Cruz in that race. So in Texas, that is a huge stumbling block right out of the gate for a lot of these Democrats who would run for statewide office, which is just building that statewide name ID. And so whoever comes out of that Democratic primary is going to be at a disadvantage. They're going to be continuing to grow their statewide name ID, but they are going to be at a disadvantage compared to Cruz.
The full interviews with Patrick Svitek and Hyder Garcia are on our website, cbsnewstexas.com. That's all for Eye on Politics this week. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Jack Fink. Hope you have a very happy, healthy, and prosperous new year. You're watching CBS News Texas.